Jazz vocalist Vuyo Sotashe was among a group of performers at the recent South African Songbook musical exhibition on one of the premier jazz stages in New York City to mark the country's 25 years of democracy. The Eastern Cape native returns to South Africa along with the Lincoln Jazz Orchestra under the direction of Grammy Award winner Wynton Marsalis for a number of performances at the Joy of Jazz Festival in Johannesburg.
The SABC's Sherwin Bryce-Pease caught up with Vuyo during their run in the Big Apple.
In conversation with South African male jazz Vuyo Sotashe here in New York, he joins me now. Great to see you, and congratulations on the trajectory of your career.
Oh, thank you.
So let's talk a bit about that. You won a Fulbright scholarship in 2013, moved to the United States, moved to New York in particular. Has your life changed since then, or not so much?
No, it's definitely changed. I mean, I think that New York has that, or from my experience thus far, New York has that energy. You know, you could be completely still, but like the kinetic energy, the I don't know. There's something about this city that everyone who's passed through here has always had an experience and has been changed by it. So definitely my life has changed in that way, but moving to another country, I mean, this is all, it's flipped around my perspective of the world, my perspective of the music that I want to play. Yeah, so lots changed since I've moved out.
Tell us a bit about the music you want to play. What do you mean when you say that?
Well, I mean, I think I have been exposed to a lot more music, and I've had the opportunity since coming here to work with so many artists. So a lot of the influence isn't, because New York is this really dense, you know, small island with like excellence. You know, people come here to really do their best. And
small island with a lot of big stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So that's definitely like shifted my trajectory, you know, in terms of how I think about music. Think about my role, you know, in the industry or in the arts in general. Yeah.
It's a very delicate, sort of subtle quality to the way you perform, right? Is that an accurate description? How would you describe your the way you put it out there?
I mean, without being too ethereal about it, I like to consider the way I perform as an offering. So how I would bring something to people in the way that I interact with them, maybe like speaking to someone, meeting someone for the first time. I enjoy a gentleness, you know, in opening and creating a space where people can receive whatever you are carrying as a human being, whatever story you have. So I would describe, I guess, the quietness or the softness that you're talking about in my performance as an offering in a sense.
So Ubuntu in music.
Oh, well, you could say that. Yeah.
So Wynton Marsalis, you'll be working with him. He's the creative director here. What's that like? I mean, this is a multiple Grammy Award-winning musician. These are the types of experiences you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it's been such an honor to work with Wynton and also with the Jazz at Lincoln Center. When I moved over here, while studying and doing my master's, I took an internship here for about a year and worked in programming. So I got to see like the behind the scenes and then also interact with Wynton outside of music, you know, so getting to learn about him, you know, and how he, you know, runs, I guess, this incredible institution. And then getting the opportunity to actually work with him has been such a great experience. I mean, so gratifying, so humbling. He is an incredible teacher, a very generous teacher, and it's been an incredible ride.
Have you ever considered that you are one of the few male jazz vocalists from South Africa? One of my colleagues said earning a living. That might not necessarily be the case, but there are very few of your type, doing this kind of thing. What does that tell us about the jazz scene in South Africa and perhaps more broadly?
I think historically, in jazz, we've seen a lot more, in general, like we've seen a lot more references to females when we talk about jazz voice, you know. And even for me, when I started learning about jazz music from home, I listened to a lot of female singers, you know, and
Ella, Nina, Miriam,
you know, all of those names, you know, that we name we call out so easily.
Sure.
But I do think that there is a very a ripe number, you know, of singers who are trying to, or male vocalists who are trying to push the envelope and create new things, especially from South Africa. I know singers like Langa Mavuso, I know singers like Ndumiso Manana, like really great vocalists and song stylists who are connected to jazz tradition and maybe exploring other, you know, parts of our own music at home and also popular music like internationally. But these guys are really doing incredible stuff. So I wouldn't say I'm an anomaly in this, but I do think there is a shortage in it. But that we have a lot of great singers, especially from home.
So let's talk a little bit about the interpretation of the South African Songbook, right? You've done that, Letambula's, There's Music in the Air, among others. What is the role of people like yourself and your contemporaries and maybe up-and-coming jazz musicians in reinterpreting some of South Africa's jazz classics as we move forward here?
You know, the music from South Africa, and as it would be with most music, like most music traditions, comes from narrative, comes from storytelling, comes from where they compose them in relation to the experiences, right? So we may be singing some of these songs and they might, you know, some people might see them as archaic or old or, you know, whatever, but the way that we interpret them has to be true to ourselves and our stories and where we are now. And I think that really is the role of young artists, to be true more than anything. And even as we perform these songs, you know, these great timeless pieces like Kaifa Semenya's and Letambulu's Music in the Air, we relive them, you know, in the now. And I think that is, I guess, the superlative goal, you know, for guys, my contemporaries, as it were. Yeah.
Jazz played a very important role in the struggle against apartheid. It really helped many people to get through the dark days. Is there a role for jazz musicians in particular, given some of the economic and socio-economical and political challenges facing South Africa's 25-year democracy at this very moment?
Yes. I think, like I said, historically, the role of artists has always been to tell the truth, right? And to show the truth about who we are, you know, to be a mirror. So I think in the way that jazz was in many ways a mirror of where we were at, you know, during the apartheid era, and was challenging, you know, the status quo. It was challenging the way we think about who we are and how we can live together. I think that is the exact same role that we have now, you know. History you know, moves in circles and cycles. So we can look back and see what our forefathers and our ancestors, the musicians that came before us, what they did, how they played, or how they lived in those times, and to see how we can be relevant now. But to tell the truth is really the highest.
Truth is very important. Final question for you. You're performing at the South African Songbook here in New York. Of course, you go to South Africa for Joy of Jazz near the end of the month. What can people in South Africa expect?
Well, the repertoire that they've narrowed down, because we have plethora, like a myriad.
Which means a lot.
A lot. Like, it's crazy. We have so much music from home, and I'm sure we had like the programming department had like had a whole day trying to figure out which songs to choose from. But these the repertoire for these shows focuses on post-apartheid compositions, so songs that were written after 1994. So reimagining who we are, as you were speaking earlier, like what is our role now, you know, in this new time, you know. Rather, how do we, you know, interact with the challenges that we're dealing with now with the music that we have. And it's really great to hear the orchestra and Wynton Marsalis conceptualize, or really try and get into, you know, the minds and the genius, essentially, of these composers, and also their stories, and try and create and arrange for the singers and the guests that you'll be hearing.
What's it like actually performing with an orchestra like this?
Oh, performing
the best.
It's the best. They are the premier big band. Internationally, and they're also such generous. They each member is incredible. They all have, you know, resumes of their own, if you may. But
so good musicians and good people.
They're good musicians and good people, and it's an honor and to work with them. Yeah, for this. Yeah.
Well, yeah, thanks very much indeed, and congratulations. South Africa is very proud of you, and more wind behind your back.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Vuyo Sotashe speaking to us here in New York. Of course, we'll be traveling to South Africa near the end of September for the Joy of Jazz Festival in Johannesburg.